check the
Okay.
microphone.
Yes, good morning. It's a beautiful morning in Karizawa.
Yes, it is. So we're recording here, and
My name is Peter David. I am from Denmark, but I've lived in Japan now for 27 years. And I'm one of the co-founders of Nelis, Next Leaders Initiative for Sustainability, which was founded here in Japan in 2015. Well, I worked with corporates on sort of sustainability consulting. And one day in summer of 2004, actually, I was riding a train up to Epson, one of the big global companies, printer companies and so on. And suddenly the idea of Nelis struck me on the train. The name, Next Leaders Initiative for Sustainability. And at that time, I also had the idea of Network for Leadership and Innovation in Sustainability. It struck me on that train. I started jotting down some ideas. And the feeling was that you will never arrive at sustainability working just through corporates, because of the system they're embedded in. The capitalist system they're embedded in will not allow true sustainability. So I just had the idea suddenly, we need to create this network of next generation leaders for whom this is just the natural way to make decisions. And that could only happen, no matter how hard it is, it can only happen bottom up. It cannot be within the UN, it cannot come in a national context, it cannot come in a corporate context. It can only happen through kindred spirits, like-minded people with shared values, connecting up all over the world and creating a big global movement for a better future.
what is it, sustainability?
There's so many aspects to it, but if you look at it from a personal perspective, it's a choice, really, whether you want to live with a small self or a big self, you could say. Small self is like, all I think about is me, here, now. Those are three keywords. Me, here, now. As much as possible for me, as soon as possible, right now. So, but there's another way to live also, which I call big self, which is you look not just for yourself, but you think about other people. You think not just about the here, but also about other locations around the world. You care for other people around the world. And you think not just about the now, you also think about the future generation. So really this is, for me, in a personal perspective, what sustainability is about. Trying to aim to have a bigger self, expanding yourself, thinking about people in other places, people in the future, and caring for them, actually. So that's the personal aspect. And another sort of more civilizational or global perspective is that, and that also relates to the why in a way, we're going to have almost 10 billion people on this little planet in 2050, and they will all want to live decent lives. They will want to be reasonably prosperous, have material goods also to can satisfy their lives. They will hopefully want to have, or they will want to have peaceful lives also, not fighting each other. And that is a huge task, to enable that with all the constraints that we have on this planet. So how do we enable the flourishing of, well, say in 2050, 10 billion people, probably in 2100 it will be 11 billion people on Earth. That is the big challenge. That is the real sustainability challenge. And that's why we need every one of us to have not a small self, but a big self. If every one of us has this big self, we care about others, we care about the future also, then actions will change in business, in agriculture, in health, whatever sector of society. And that's the change that Nelis is hoping to inspire, I think. The interesting thing about Nelis is it really came out of this idea that struck me on a train journey. And now we have people from all over the world getting together to discuss how we can create a network. So it's the power of an idea, if it's valuable, is immense, really. So then I got, in 2015, some of my business partners to support the idea, and we started by inviting people from across the world to Japan. And first we weren't too sure about what it was going to be. It was all open-ended in a way. And but every year we had people together in 2015, 2017, and now again in 2018. And every year I feel like we're stepping up. We're taking one step up or one step forward. We're becoming more concrete. People are taking more responsibility on their own. They're taking more initiative. So we are moving towards the vision, I think. And the vision is to have a huge local to global network, we call it, which means the local is in center, because that's where you have face-to-face connections, that's where you have human scale, that's where you have real action happening on, and all issues are different in Colombia from Japan or the US or Denmark or whatever. So local to global network of thousands or tens of thousands of actors who really act for sustainability. And these people will, if we have critical mass, change the course of society basically. So that's why we're talking about next generation leaders. We're talking about stepping up to a leadership challenge. Don't hide yourself, don't check out of society, be part of society. Make this mainstream, because sustainability, environmental concern and so on used to be an alternative thing. And some years ago it was something hippies did maybe, but this we can no longer allow ourselves. This must become the new mainstream. And only by taking up the challenge, by being leaders, by taking up positions in society. We want to raise leaders who are actually into politics or become business leaders, so that we can change the course of society. That is the grand vision.
You talk about, I read a term for bypass innovation.
Yes, it's a very important concept because we talk a lot about, in Western culture maybe mainly, about breakthrough. It means you have the old order, the old minds or whatever here, and then you try to break through this to come to a new future. But you lose such a lot of energy trying to break through the old minds or the vested interests or whatever, that some people burn out in the process. We get so frustrated. So for Nelis, I don't really want us to be a protest organization. I would prefer that we just bypass these obsolete practices or old minds or vested interests, and we just build a better future on the other side. If we just create all the attractive actions, show people that there is a much better future on the other side, then there will be a natural movement towards the better choice, I think. And then we can just leave the old minds, the vested interests, the obsolete practices and people, we can just leave them behind. And one day they will be like dinosaurs. So we just bypass instead of trying for breakthrough. And it's less violent. You don't have to fight. You just create better choices, better alternatives. It looks more beautiful on the other side. So that's the philosophy also. And it's a much more positive philosophy than trying. Okay, sometimes you have to take a stand. Sometimes you have to insist. Sometimes you have to fight. So we shouldn't forget that spirit as well. But we don't want to protest and spend all our energy on breaking through. I would say two things are happening this year. One is we are engaging our external stakeholders much more closely, and this time the sponsors, of course, were large corporations. So we're trying to engage young staff in large corporations in innovating inside their companies along the Nelis spirit. And I think we're about to create something called the Sustainable Innovation Community inside these companies, and that's a big step forward from last year. And then with the Nelis participants coming from 15 countries, I sense that people are now looking at setting up local nonprofits, and that was also part of the vision. We're not a hierarchical organization where Japan is headquartered and then you have affiliates across the world. We want to be a distributed network, totally flat, with locally registered nonprofits. So we are seeing people committing, I think, to exploring how to set up a local nonprofit in several regions of the world now. And that's a significant step forward, and sort of it starts to put shape to some of the visions and the ideas. So that's a huge step forward, I think.
Yeah, it's getting into shape.
Well, I would say the primary action and the primary value of Nelis for members is building a small community of kindred spirits in your local town, city, region. Because just being together with these people is value in itself. That's what members say when they join our 5 or 6 day program here. Just being with such lovely people from around the world is so nourishing. So that is the first action, just building a small community of trusted, kindred spirits that will nourish you. Then we can co-nourish, we can co-inspire, and that makes us stronger. So that's the most fundamental value. You don't have to think about what events to do or what activities to do immediately. I mean, just building that community is an important enough first step, I think. Okay, thank you. That's very nice.